CPC versus GX4000.
15 of the 26 titles released for the Amstrad GX4000 were ports of existing tape and disc CPC games. It is commonly said that these ports are identical to the CPC versions and therefore not worth the higher price tag, and majorly contributed to the ultimate failure of the infamous British system. This series makes direct side-by-side comparisons as I discuss the differences of both versions and choose which one is better. In part 4 we look at two racing game sequels, Crazy Cars 2, Fire and Forget 2, and one of the two tennis games on the system, Pro Tennis Tour. Okay, it's time for a bit of Crazy Cars 2, and image on the box art there been flipped. That was common with a lot of different versions of this game out. I remember that happening. Look, it's a mirror image, it's a flipped image. Going on to the comparison, anyway, get my words right, sorry. A little bit of a redesign, redrawn title screen there. Colour scheme's different. It's up to you which one you think's prettier. They're both quite nice. Not really much of an improvement, and there's a bit of a bit of plus palette going on there, of course, with the GX4000, and an additional Titus logo, which I believe is a hardware sprite. Yeah, doing it again, GX4000. Look, you've missed that little image there. That little nice little image there. It's on the CPC version. Missing. Why is that missing? It's again taking a slight bit of edge off it. Oh, there's a little bit there. What the GX4000 does, the map sequence. That's additional to it. That's not included on the CPC version. That map. So that one's done in mode 1 for that map. You switch to that map when you want to look where you want to go, plan your routes, as it were. And I think the little blipping icons on that are hardware sprites as well. And I just crashed on the GX4000 version there. Gameplay wise, let's get to it. Audio, well, the same, identical. Nice Doppler effect on both versions when the police car's in range. I do like that sound effect, but again, there's no difference in CPC. Graphically, the background, as you can see, the horizon, nice little raster interrupt there for the sky, using the gradient and fading. Plus palette, of course, is used. Slightly different changes of colour there. The road is lighter in colour, which, yeah, it's a difference in this one. Unlike most of the time when the graphics are changed slightly with using the plus palette, there's a tint on the game. The reverse has happened here. Crazy Car 2 is actually brighter in appearance. But unfortunately, just noticed the car is actually darker, but the road is brighter. How odd. Oh, I got nicked on the CPC. Colour changes again for the HUD at the top. No split screen used. Again, could have been used. Not many alterations at all. A few little subtle ones. The map bit I think is nice because it's an additional thing to the game. It helps the game, it helps you play the game as well, know where you're going, plot your route. I think the map is actually included in the instruction manual of the CPC version. Don't hold me to that because I'm not sure. But with the redrawn title screen, yeah, it's okay, but it's not a massive improvement than the CPC title screen. And the game itself, no big changes, certainly in the gameplay. Gameplay could have been altered significantly, and that's a shame because it hasn't. It's not a bad driving game, but it's not the worst. It's not the best, should I say. Getting my words mixed up now. I certainly think they could have improved the controls method. It's a little bit shoddy on the responsiveness, is Crazy Cars 2. And maybe some more sound effects as well, a bit like Burning Rubber does. Bit of a shame, but apart from that, it's yeah, I'd say 92% the same. That's a guess. I'm not going to go into massive detail. Well, I am. What am I talking about? Of course I am. HUD is slightly different, but apart from that, I'd say the GX4000 version wins. Just. Another one from Titus, Fire and Forget 2. Don't play this Master System version. Absolutely abysmal. And it's not that great on the CPC and the GX4000 either. But it's a okay sort of game. Cover art, same. Or title screen, completely different. Massive overscan full screen there. Lovely sort of scanned image on the GX4000. Not on the CPC version at all. And again, lovely little title screen there, different to the CPC. CPC is very basic, very 8-bit. Nice looking title screen on the GX4000 there, a little bit 3D fire and forget image. So, game itself, very similar to Created Cars 2, which I was just talking about. HUD has been recoloured from the blue grey to the brown colour. The design is exactly the same, there's no significant changes there, it's all to do with the colour. So you've got the plus palette being used, implemented as always. You can see the sky having a better sort of fading effect there. The intro music, I'm going to talk about the music for a second there, because the intro music on the CPC version is actually faster. Maybe that's something to do with the fact that the CPU on the GX4000 does run 0.001% slower than the CPC to create the sort of the glossier image, as it were, on the graphics. Might be something to do with that. I'm not sure why. Again, it's another one of these sort of audio anomalies, a bit like Wild Streets, that crops up occasionally on the GX4000. We're going to switch over to the sound on the CPC just to show you a difference as well, where it's the reverse of Wild Streets, where the music and the sound effects were clashing on the GX4000. This time, this happens on the CPC version. So, we've got the music and the sound effects on the GX, and we're going to switch over to the CPC, and you're going to hear a difference. Where the, yeah, right, now if you can just listen for a second. Oh dear. I crashed, but there was no crash effect there, I noticed as well. That was missing. The explosion effects are actually better on the GX4000 version. There's more sound effects on the GX4000 version than the CPC. And like I say, the music is clashing with the sound effects, which is something that's not happening on the GX4000 version, which is a reverse of what was happening on Wild Streets. Baffling, certainly is. Certainly baffling indeed. There's also, as you notice, there's a centre stripe on the roadway of the GX4000 version, which is not on the CPC, so it gives it a more sense of movement, better sense of speed. But apart from that, there's not much else going on environmentally wise. I mean, the side traffic is the same, the enemies are the same, they all move the same, there's no hardware sprites used, there's no hardware scrolling used. There are, I think the still images between levels are significantly different though. A bit like the scan at the beginning of the game, the sort of overscan full screen mode at the beginning of the game, which is a very nice image. You get that with the end of level screens, which we're going to show at the end of this, because I'm not going to complete the whole level. And I'll show you an image of the CPC next to what the GX4000 does with the image. And it's a significant improvement. In fact, there's a 16-bit quality looking image on the GX4000 over the CPC. I think something about the shading of the car landing as well is slightly different. But apart from that, it's got differences. Yes, there are slight changes, a few improvements. Certainly the sense of speed is better. But there we go. Fire and Forget 2, and here's a little look at the stills at the end of levels. So now we're going to look at Pro Tennis Tour by Ubisoft, otherwise known as Great Courts Tennis or Jimmy Connors Tennis. There's several different names for this game. The same tennis ball image there is used, just a little snapshot of it in the GX4000 thing, and the title screen is different as well. No special things used with that title screen on the GX4000, just nicely drawn, different. Gold writing. And obviously the writing definition is a lot better on the GX4000 over the CPC there. Very blocky, basic text on the CPC there. I think we're using a bit of, certainly using the plus palettes. Maybe using a bit of a raster on that as well. I think it might be. Certainly has that look about it. But the game itself, menus similar there. As you can see, game itself, yes, it is improved. It is improved a lot. Them the player sprites, for instance, hardware sprites, they are excellent. Animated well. They still move a bit funny like they do on the CPC version, as you can see, but they animated really well and they look great. Especially that one in the distance has got a little bit more detail compared to the one on the CPC. Quite blocky on the CPC. One of the better games for the CPC this was, and it's a good transition to the GX4000. More could have been done, but quite a few little details have been changed. As you can see, the tennis court itself, we've got colour changes there. The court area is a different colour to the surrounding, which is different from the CPC, and the screen size is the biggest difference here. It's wider. It's a little bit shorter, but wider. So there's a lot bigger play area, which makes the game slightly easier in a way, or slightly harder in a way. It depends how you want to look at it. Plus palette is a thoroughly used with hardware sprites, so we have got GX4000 features being used. Smoother lines as well on the courts. The nets and the surrounding officials look all pretty much the same. The scoreboard is different at the back. We've got the Ubisoft logo on the back wall there, and the Blue Byte logo as well, I've noticed. Not there, you haven't got that massively horrible, very bright green, garish colour that you got on the CPC version there. You see at the side of the hoardings where the crowd is. That's a bit distracting. You don't have that on the GX4000 version, which is good that they've changed that. And when the scoreboard comes up, you've also got a very nice spinning tennis ball icon that pops up, which is a hardware sprite as well. And that's a nice little addition. I think it's a hardware sprite anyway. It behaves like one. The gameplay itself, largely unchanged, but it's a little bit slower on the GX4000 than it is on the CPC. I think that's a good thing, because it can jump. It's very jumpy sometimes, this game on the CPC, especially when it resets for a serve. You get time to a little bit of extra second to catch your breath on the GX4000 version. It's a decent tennis game. It is, for an 8-bit tennis game. It's very good. It could have had a lot more done to it, but it has had good changes. It does feel and play sometimes like a different game, so there is certain changes to the gameplay and certainly to the graphics. Audio wise, pretty much the same. But game, set and match there for the GX4000 for Pro Tennis Tour.